edition of Nerdlocker.com's third worst podcast, Deathlocker. On tonight's show, we have a very special surprise. Do you like ghosts, rats, and having your nipples played with? Then take a listen to this. Kiddies, don't touch that dial, because we're gonna rock your fucking world.
Hey nerds, how you doing? It's Shane. You're listening to the Deathlocker podcast on the Nerdlocker network. We're doing something a little different today. James and Rainbow are taking a break. I was contacted by a friend of the family, friend of the podcast, Tina Lisa, and she had a little story she wanted to share, something a little paranormal we thought might be kind of interesting for you guys. And then I got a hold of a local paranormal enthusiast. So we'll test this out, see if it goes well. If it does, we'll do some more of these. So let's get started. First guest.
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So what made you want to come tell your story on my podcast, the third worst podcast on Nerdlocker?
Oh my goodness. I just thought my story would be interesting, and it just felt like maybe you might want to hear my story, and I got a hold of you to see if you might want to hear it. It was...
I'm sorry, guys. We are, as we're doing this, we're all
I'm so excited. Oh my goodness.
We're all in the same room for once doing this, and we got a little bit of alcoholic beverages going on. So we're going to try to keep this somewhat fluid. But so Deathlocker podcast, you thought your story would be kind of interesting for us.
Well, I've had some experiences with spirits, and I thought you all might be interested in my story, and it might just catch somebody's attention. Somebody might be interested in or want to know, or maybe somebody has the same experience I do. I'm just curious to know about that.
So first question I got to ask you, Tina, is have you ever actually listened to our podcast?
Yes, I have. You guys are hilarious.
What's your favorite part?
Oh my goodness, there's just so many. I don't even know where to start. You guys are so awesome. I'd rather not even say because I don't even know where to start. You guys are awesome.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, yes,
I'm sure you follow
should.
us on our Instagram.
Every day.
This also is Cece. Cece, how are you doing?
Great. How are you today?
I'm doing good. So why are you here?
Well, I've been into paranormal things for about 8 years. I started my interest in ghosts when I was about 13.
13? Wow, that's pretty young.
Well, how I got started with it, what made me really want to get into and find out more about ghosts was when I was young, I heard somebody calling my name, and I figured it was my mother. I was in my bedroom, so I went into the kitchen and I said, "Mom, are you calling me?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Okay." And I went back in my room and I heard my name again. So then I went out to the backyard because I thought maybe it was a friend of mine calling me over the fence. Nobody was out there. So then I went back in and I heard my name again and I couldn't find anybody. And the next day I talked to my mom and I found out that my aunt had died. She had lived with us for a long time, and then she had moved to live with someone else. So I had no idea that she had died, but I really feel as though she's the one that was calling my name.
Were you close with your aunt?
Yes. So that's what really got me interested in ghosts. I feel like they really are around us, and so I just started in with the paranormal investigating, and I'm really enjoying it.
So you say you've been doing this for about 8 years now?
Yes.
And you started getting into it when you were 13.
That's when I got interested in ghosts, but I didn't actually start doing any kind of investigating or anything like that until about 8 years ago.
So do you have all the cool tools of the trade?
I have a K2 meter. And I also have a voice box.
That is so interesting. So, what is a K2 meter?
Well, the K2 meter is something that a lot of ghost hunters use to detect spikes in the electromagnetic energy. A lot of times, what they'll do is they'll take the meter and they'll first do a run through the house or wherever.
Is it like a magnetic type of thing?
It's a little box, and it's just a tool that you use, and like if you get close to an electrical outlet, it will spike. So that's why you like to do a sweep first and go around before you start an investigation and see, if you get a big spike, why that might be happening.
That
If
is.
you're close to an outlet or some kind of microwave or whatever, and then so then you kind of have a gauge to go by. So then if you get a spike while you're ghost hunting, then that there's a change in the electromagnetic energy, and that may be a ghost trying to contact you.
So you're kind of going through the space once to establish a baseline that you can compare against when you're actually going through looking for supernatural activity. So if you see something, you can go back to monitors and say, here's what it was regular, here's that. So you have some sort of quantitative evidence to compare.
That's correct, Shane.
That's kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
So how many times have you been out? I mean, do you have like a really cool, interesting ghost hunting story before we get into Tina's?
Last month, I went on a ghost hunting adventure, and it was in Guthrie at an old railroad station.
Guthrie, Oklahoma?
Yes. And it was pretty interesting. We heard a few words come out on the voice box, and we had quite a few spikes on the K2 meter. And while I was down there, I was just kind of talking because it was a long time ago. They had a lot of Italian immigrants that worked on the railroad, and also some Chinese immigrants that worked down there. So we were just talking and trying to make some sort of contact, and we had our flashlights, and my flashlight blinked.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought, my battery must be low. So I kind of messed with the flashlight to fix it. And then I asked another question, and my flashlight blinked.
Oh my goodness.
So then a couple other people that were there with me felt as though that was a spirit trying to make contact.
Definitely.
So that was really interesting and pretty fun.
In your experience that you've had, have you ever come across anything that was malevolent in nature?
No.
So you haven't had any kind of, you turn on the TV and there's always little ghost hunter dudes on TV who always, go into the asylums and old churches and, haunted places, trying to tell their story of, evil spirit this, evil spirit that. In your experience, would you say that a lot of the popular culture, television, ghost hunting shows are more just kind of television than reality?
I think so. I think a lot of it they make up or feel like one of the shows, especially, they're always trying to blame. Oh, this is a demon has possessed this house. I just don't believe everything. I mean, I'm not saying that can't happen, because I am open to all kinds of paranormal activity. But on that show, I just feel as though it's just for television.
So do you think that because it's for television, it's for drama, that a lot of people watch that and they just sort of assume that all individuals who are into the paranormal, into the supernatural, that that's how they are? The way that they're portrayed on TV is how, like, an average person like yourself who had an experience when they were younger and they got a fascination with it and they pursued it into adulthood, that they're that way. I mean, do you feel there's a negative connotation when you're within this normal company? Do you feel comfortable if you're at a party and you're talking to friends, or you're someplace else at a work gathering and something kind of comes up? Do you feel comfortable saying, oh, here's something that I'm into? Or do you draw back because there's a weird connotation to the whole ghost hunter thing?
I really think that the television shows have put a bad light on ghost hunting. And when I'm in mixed company, I don't talk anything about paranormal. because I just feel like they'll think I'm a nut.
I completely understand. This is why I never talk about my story, because people think I'm crazy. Because I can never talk about my experience because they think I'm nuts. But really, I know what I've felt, and it's really happened to me. So, Cece, thank you for that.
You're welcome, and I'm glad that you're here to tell your story because I think it's important that people get out and explain these kind of things and true things, not television
Yeah.
shows.
People just don't understand sometimes. You experience things, and that's they don't always believe you. They always take it as if it's a joke, and you really feel a certain kind of way when these things happen to you. So thank you for giving me this chance to explain my story, Shane, and Cece for just listening in. Thank you.
I think the important thing is I would go as far as to say is everybody's had some sort of supernatural experience, whether it's I've heard the voice of a passed away family member, like you said, Cece, or a story that we're going to talk about with Tina here in a second, or just the feeling of deja vu. Supernatural, paranormal, it's so broad that I think everybody's had an experience, and it's just things that, again, they don't feel comfortable talking about because you get labeled as, hey, you're crazy, you're nuts, whatever.
Well, that happens all the time. This is why I don't really say my story, and I feel like you guys would probably understand me more than anybody else. So this is why I'm here today.
Well, you want to get right to your story?
Hell yeah, let's do this.
Okay, so Tina, tell us your story. I'll let you go at your own pace, and we'll just kind of jump in, ask you some questions. Don't want to be too intrusive. You tell the 11 Deathlocker listeners.
I guess it all started when I was about 15, 16 years old. I just had these outer spirit experiences when I fell asleep.
When you were 15, 16 years old, did you already have any how did you feel about the whole supernatural thing? Did you feel that supernatural was around? Did you feel that ghosts, spirits?
No, I was just pretty normal. Kind of happened when I went to doze off to go to sleep, and things just kind of started happening to me at a young age. It was a little scary because at first I just thought it was a dream, and then it just started turning into something more real where I felt like I was awake, and I was able to see things around me and the people around me, and I just wasn't able to speak. I couldn't reach out. I couldn't get any kind of help because I didn't know what to do. It was new to me. I was young, but it was kind of scary. I never wanted to sleep alone.
So your first experiences, you said you're about 16?
Yeah.
What sort of things started? Was it a slow progression? Was it one incident that just kind of happened quickly at once?
Yeah, it was kind of sexual. It started with the touching of my nipples and my body. I could feel and actually like kind of see the movement of hands touching me, and it was really creepy because I could feel it. I felt like I was being touched by something like sexually. Like if I was actually having intercourse with a real man.
Now, did you have like a sense of paralysis while this was going on? Were you in a dream state?
It was sort of like a dream stage, but I was actually feeling everything like if you were actually having intercourse with a human. Like it was so real.
So did you just go to sleep and then
I would
just wake up with this happening to
Yes,
you?
yeah, I would go to sleep. It was happening to me, but I was still in the same position that I was when I went to sleep. It was crazy because in my head, I seen my body naked. I could see the movement of the fingers touching me and the pressure of the sexual stuff that was happening to me, like if somebody was actually touching me in sexual ways.
So when you say that, do you feel like you were seeing yourself from a third person perspective? Like almost like you were hovering over your body and you were kind of seeing yourself?
I guess you can say that, yeah. It's like if I was naked in my dream, I was in the same position I was when I fell asleep, but I see my body naked, like, and I had voices in my head. There was like whispering, and I could hear voices of a man or some type of something breathing really hardly into my ears. That's just something I can never forget. It's
Do you have
just
any recollection as to what they were saying?
no, it was like just really hard breathing and it sounded like a man. It was I don't. It's really hard to explain, but I could hear voices. But it was a different type of language. It wasn't even. It was. It's just really hard for me to explain. But I could hear the hard breathing. I didn't know how to snap out of it. It was so hard.
Is this multiple encounters where you had a similar experience?
It started happening when I was alone. I was afraid to go to sleep. So I would always sleep with the lights on. And then it got to the point, I guess, toward the end when I started getting older, where people could be in the same room with me and I could look at them, but they weren't able to help me. I would just like probably just start screaming out loud, but silently until it just came out.
So when you said when you started getting older, are we talking from
It used to happen when I was alone.
when this is the age of 16?
Yeah, that was the age of 16. I didn't want to be alone. I used to cry.
And then from 16 to
Like maybe 20.
so for about 4 years,
Yeah.
randomly when you were alone, you would just have
Yeah,
this
it
experience.
just happened so much. I could not be alone.
And as far as you can remember, there wasn't like a.
I would cry. I never let my mom leave the house. Well, I would try not to. And if I was alone, I always slept with the lights on. And even with the lights on, it would happen to me. It was like something that overcame my body. And I felt like it just violated me every single time. I felt like I was being violated by some type of spirit. And it was horrible. Horrible.
So the ages of 16 to 20, those are
Yeah.
your high school years.
Yes.
Do you feel that kind of affected you psychologically as far as your development of interpersonal relationships with your peers? Did you were you more withdrawn, or did you kind of go the opposite, where you became more extroverted?
I never really talked about it to anybody. I kind of thought that maybe I was just too embarrassed to talk about it, and when I did, people thought I was crazy and they would laugh at me. Yeah, nobody really believed me. And when I did come out and talk about it, they recommended me talking to a pastor or to somebody from the church. And when I did, the one person that I did speak to said that I had evil spirits following me and that I had to be closer to God. And I was close to God, but I have my own relationship when it comes to religion and all that. And I just didn't know how to deal with this. It was hard.
You talked about how from 16 to about 20.
Yeah.
And then when you hit 20, it changed from being an individual personal experience with you by yourself into where you would be with a group of people. And then you would start getting the same sensation, paralysis, wanting to scream, but you just felt like you couldn't scream.
It didn't really happen when I was with a group of people, maybe another person next to me, to the point where I would be sleeping next to someone.
Got you. So it wasn't like if you're hanging out with people in an environment, just
no,
because somebody else is in the room
because
with you
I was
at night.
always kind of safe when people were around me.
So,
yeah,
if somebody else is in the room with you at night,
yeah, it would come to
then
me.
it would
yeah,
come with you in there.
And it's always when you're laying down to go to sleep.
Yeah, when I felt pretty comfortable, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. And then it got to the point where it didn't matter if I had someone next to me, it would happen. But I wasn't able to reach out and get help from that person next to me because it would just happen. And it was just as bad as when I was by myself. Yeah. There was no way of controlling it.
So this is in your 20s. Now we move into 21, 22, 23. Same thing. Did it get worse? Did it get better?
Well, it
Did you
happened.
still hear the voices? Was the
Yeah,
voices a
it just
constant?
never changed. I felt like it was different. A lot of times, there was times where I couldn't control. I felt like my body was lifting. I felt I did things besides me getting violated by this one spirit. It was like if it was trying to hurt me and wanted to take me. I felt
When you say try to take you, are you
it was
speaking
like
more
I felt
physically or spiritually?
I don't know if it was, it might have been like kind of spiritually. It told me to go with them one night.
And how old were you when this happened?
I was about 16 the first time.
Well, when it told you to go with you,
Yeah.
you were 16.
Yeah. I was like sitting at the corner of my bed. I never forgot it.
Did you have
I
an
couldn't see
actual?
I couldn't see a face.
Did you have like an actual dialogue
Yeah.
with whatever it
I
was?
was like actually talking to whatever it was.
Do you
Yeah.
remember the conversation at all?
It was like, you should come with me. And I was like, who are you? And that person just kind of said, it didn't tell me who it was. It was just like a woman figure. That was the first experience. I remember saying, no, I don't know you. It was, and I think I broke out from that to where I was holding my hand out and there was a dark shadow like in a hallway. And I remember a white rat. Yes, and I had my hand out. I was trying to save this rat. And the more I tried to save it, I started choking this rat to the point where blood started coming out of the mouth. And I had no control of my strength in my hand where I was choking this rat.
And this is what you were dreaming?
It was like, yeah, it was like in a dream, but I could not control what was happening to me.
So you were like the viewer of yourself.
Yeah, it was something was happening, but I was in my bed. This is the same time that person was sitting at the bed telling me that I should go with that person.
And then when you started having the sexual, did you feel the same where you're like outside your body looking at this happening to you? Were you looking
I
at
did not
yourself?
see myself. I saw it while I was laying there. I could feel these fingers touching my body. I could feel this person touching me like a man would touch you in a sexual way. I felt it. I felt the pressure. I felt my body being touched like if I was actually like having intercourse with someone. Yes. It was very like so real. Like I don't even know what to say.
From 16 to
It got worse as I got
as you
older.
got older.
It was more sexual as I got older. Yeah.
Now, you said it's more sexual as you got older. Do you think that is a byproduct potentially of you maturing yourself sexually and becoming more understanding
More of a
of what your
woman.
own
Yeah.
sexuality is?
Maybe. I remember the pastor that came to my home said that I had these spirits following me because I wasn't close to God and all this stuff. And I had to be closer to God. I just didn't know what to believe at the time. And I felt like I always slept with the Bible next to me. And I always try to pray. And when this happened to me, I started taking control of what was happening to me. And it was kind of like if I started doing this little prayer every time. And it's kind of funny. It's like my prayer that I used to put was like, in the name of Jesus, I repent you. And I would repeat it and repeat it until it just like completely got off my body. But it would rape me. I know I was being raped by the spirit. It was just crazy. And then one day I was watching this broadcast on TV and they were talking about aliens and all this stuff. And I never really believed in it until I heard the story of this one lady being violated by this alien. And I was like, oh my God, that's my story. That's my story. That's what happens to me. I thought it was spirits, but when I heard about her story, I was like, that's me.
So the idea is that all this time, up until you saw the television show,
Yeah.
you thought it was religious based. You thought
Yeah.
it was a demon. You had
Yes.
a lot of influence, family, friends that were saying, hey, you need to be closer to your church and have stronger faith, and this is why this
Yes.
stuff is happening. And then you saw this thing on television, and television influenced you to believe that you're actually being
Well, because
violated by aliens?
by an alien, yeah. Because her story was so similar, and the breathing in her voice, the voices that she heard in her ear, and the touching of her body. It was like an outer body experience, like where you felt your body was just kind of floating and you were being touched by something.
And what age were you?
I was about probably 19, 20, and I just kind of believed it. I thought, oh my God, all this time has it been aliens?
So from 16 to 20, it was more of an individual experience. Then you saw this program on TV.
Yeah.
And you came to the belief that it was extraterrestrial. It was aliens that were visiting you. And
yeah, because I could never understand the language in my ears that this person was breathing in my ear. It was really hard. It was horrible. It was like in tongues or something.
Except for that first time where he wanted you to come with me, come with me, come with me.
No, it was actually a girl at first.
It was a girl at first.
Yeah.
With the voice that was telling you to come.
Yeah, that was at first.
With the white rat.
Yeah, when I was trying to choke the white rat.
So around 20, which is also around the same time when you started to experience the phenomena when you would have somebody else in the bed with you.
Yeah, and it followed me everywhere I went. It didn't matter where I moved to. It was always there.
So now we're into 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Same
thing. It
just followed me for a very long time.
So grew up in California.
Yeah.
Moved over to Atlanta. Same thing.
It happened. I feel like it kind of stopped once I got to Atlanta. It wasn't happening to me as much. It kind of stopped right there.
So since you made your move to Atlanta, 12 years, I think is what your bio says.
Yeah, something like
about
that.
12 years.
Yeah.
Have you had any other incidences?
I have, but they're not sexually anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are.
I just get them heavy breathings, like the same ones I used to get when I used to get violated.
So the voices.
Yeah, them voices do not leave my head. Like I can't even understand the voices. It's just hard.
Are the voices like a whisper, or is it just like a weird?
It's hard.
Inaudible
it's
language?
It's kind of like a language I don't even understand. Yeah.
Now you've been back to California a few times to visit family, correct?
Yeah.
You stayed overnight in California?
Yes.
When you've made the travel back to California, have you had any reoccurring incidents? Like it's something that's tied directly to California?
No, it hasn't. I always sleep with the lights on. I like noises. I don't like to be alone because I feel like if I'm alone, it might just happen. I don't know. Ever since I've been very young, I'm afraid to sleep alone. Like that's why I always have the lights on.
So I'm just trying to conceptualize the shift from a supernatural entity to an extraterrestrial entity based off of a television show.
Yeah, I know.
Not to be flippant, but
I know
it just seems kind of odd in context. We were talking to Cece, and she was talking about how the TV shows, how influence, just a TV show influenced you to go from one belief system to a totally different belief system.
I just felt like for somebody that don't even know me to have kind of like the same similar experiences. And it's hard for me to believe in something unless it's like so similar, because I don't believe in stuff like that. But I feel that it, just by hearing what the lady had said, was so similar to my story, like the hard breathing and the touching of her body and her body lifting and all that. It just felt like that's me.
Cece, in your years of studying paranormal activity, have you come across any stories that are similar to Tina's that don't involve aliens?
The only time I've heard something similar is when people talk about sleep paralysis and they're woken up in the middle of the night and they feel that they cannot move, and if they try and scream, nothing comes out. And some believe that it's a ghost, and others believe that with sleep paralysis, what it is that your brain is waking up before your body does. That's the main thing that I've heard about it. I had one experience myself where I felt as though I couldn't move, and I tried to scream, and I felt like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, but no one could hear. Um, that happened to me a couple times, but I just kind of blew it off and figured it was a dream, because there really wasn't anything other than that. I felt scared and I couldn't move, but I just figured it was a dream and just left it as that.
So, in your opinion, do you think that Tina is actually having a extraterrestrial, or was having extraterrestrial experiences, or do you think it's something that honestly does fall more in line with something in the paranormal realm?
I really am not sure. I don't know much about extraterrestrial experiences. I've heard a few stories, but I really don't know much about it. But I have heard a few about spirits raping people.
It happened to me for so long, and I felt like every experience that I had, I feel like I had a few that kind of stuck with me for a while, and it kind of changed to different people. Just my feeling within was like, if it was, I had, like when it first started, it was like the same person for a long time.
Well, see, the phraseology you're using is what I find interesting, because you keep saying people, person. Those are all humans, ghost entities.
Yeah.
If it was
I just felt like
I would think that you're if you really believe that it was supernatural, I think that your phraseology might go more towards, another being, another entity. I kind of believe from hearing your story that it was something that was paranormal, and you were having a hard time reconciling the paranormal aspect with it.
All right.
And so you saw something on television that made it aliens. And so aliens might have been an easier pill for you to digest than you were being followed and you were being violated by a series of ghosts. Because you've said a couple times, people. There's different people doing it, which in my mind could be kind of a head.
Well, it felt like the same person at first, but it started changing. I mean, just the voices that were breathing into me, like speaking into my ears, the voices changed, but the feeling, the same feeling, it never changed. It was still the same. Like I could feel it.
I want to lean more towards the paranormal side, because your description, again, with the people person, your description of the act is, it's just like having sex with a regular person. If it was an alien entity, I also don't know anything about aliens.
Yeah.
But I think if it was some sort of alien entity, the experience wouldn't be similar to having sexual intercourse with another person.
Right.
It would feel different. You would feel different. I just think there'd be a different sensations.
Well, why me?
Well, that's an interesting question. Why you? Why do you think you?
I don't know. Maybe you can help me with this. This is I really kind of want to know, like, why me?
I mean, Cece, in your experience, and the research you've done and the things you've seen, is it more common that these acts are random, or is it that there's something that one particular person may have done?
Is it because I'm weak? Because that's what people have told me. And, a lot of people make fun of me because of this. They think I'm crazy when I say my story. And honestly, I say it with all honesty, that this is what has happened to me in the past. And it's really scary for me. And it wasn't easy for me to come out and just say, hey, this is what's happened to me, but this is what's happening. And that's why I've always been so scared to just speak out and say, this happened to me, and it used to happen a lot. And I feel like I have controlled it through prayer. That's been my strong point. I feel like now I'm like, come on, give it to me. Like, I'll fight you now. Like, I feel like I have control of it now.
Well, and
it's crazy. Because even like if I sleep, sometimes there's times where I'm by myself and I know it wants to get me. I feel like I have control of it.
So you have control over it through your
prayer. Today.
Through your prayer.
Yeah, through my prayer. Or just telling it to go away. I feel like
so
I have something today. Like
my question would be, if you feel like you have control of it through your prayer and through, faith-based
Yeah.
is giving you control.
Yeah.
How are you holding on to the idea that it's extraterrestrial? Because an extraterrestrial.
Well, this is where I'm not sure. So,
So potentially the extraterrestrial thing could just have been a coping
it could have
mechanism
been,
for you
yeah.
to explain
But it just sounds so similar, and it kind of like made me think, wow, could this be it? But that, like I said, maybe she's having the feelings I did, and she said it was extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial. I can't even say that.
To better explain it or to find some sort of coping mechanism.
Yeah.
That's some things that I kind of thought was interesting. Why did they pick me? Is it because I'm weak? Do you feel that you're weak?
I think I'm weak today because I sleep with the lights on. I'm afraid of the dark. I don't like to be by myself. So I feel like the more I think about it, that's probably why it attacks me. Because if I was a stronger person, but now I do not let it attack me, because I think before I even get to that point, I fight whatever's within me.
Cece, is it plausible that when she was younger in a more frail state, by thinking about it so much and by focusing so much attention and energy towards whatever it is that was assaulting her, that she was in essence inviting it to come back, almost making herself a target, not just for whatever the original entity was, but maybe for other like entities?
I don't know if I would say that she was making herself a target. Some spirits bothering young girls, it's usually around that time when, they're coming of age and, start menstruating. And that's like the time that the spirit, try to get to them, because they're still young enough in their head to try and manipulate them. And there's something about coming to age that...
So is it a more common phenomena in females and males? I mean, could you specifically coming of age,
sure.
menstrual cycles, becoming a woman? I think, one of the social conventions is, when a man becomes a man, a boy becomes a man,
right.
It's usually you give him a beard, get him a hooker, slap on the ass, you're good to go. But for a female, it's a whole transition spiritually, body,
Not
mental.
even my mother believed me. It was amazing. She would leave me crying. I would beg her to please stay home, because I was so scared of these spirits or whatever it was.
If a spirit was looking for somebody to mess with, you have an individual like Tina, coming of age, young adolescent female, who's feeling weak, sharing the experience with family and friends, and the family and friends basically just, tell her she's crazy. Yeah, whatever. You're just trying to get off of school today. You don't want to go to school today.
No, until this day, I could say my story and they still laugh at me and think, oh my goodness, you're so crazy. Like, whatever. Like, nobody really believed me. And I was very serious. It had me going through a really bad depression at that time, because I had no one to talk to. And I just couldn't be alone.
So do you think that the overall experience has affected your development and had a impact into who you are now as an adult?
Yeah, as an adult, I still sleep with the lights on. I'm not as scared as I used to when I was younger. I feel like if it does, I actually could feel it coming on when it's starting to happen, but I feel like, come on, bitch, give it to me, because I'm gonna fight you. Seriously, that's how I feel. Like, bring it to me, because I am not gonna let you beat me. It's almost as if it wants to take my soul.
So it's not that, because earlier you said that everything had kind of stopped when you moved to Atlanta.
Yeah,
so
but
it's not so much
no.
that it stopped. It's just that you have a greater sense of control over it. So
whatever
the entity
you're right.
tries to come towards you.
I feel like it still tries to get me. And if I let it, it will do what it's always has. I mean, it just takes over my body to the point, but I feel like I'm not weak anymore. I fight it now. I fight whatever it is. And I just learned how to control it, because it's been so many years of being scared of being alone. And now I have 3 kids. I have a husband, and I could be laying next to him and it'll try to attack me, and I wake him up at night and be like, it's happening. He already knows about it. He kind of looks at me. I just say, okay, here, hold my hand. But at the same time, I have control of what's happening. I just fight it with my words, and I am like, you're not going to do this to me anymore.
So you said you have 3 kids, right?
Yes.
Any females?
I have 2.
And how old are they?
I have a 6-year-old and a 17-year-old.
So you have a 17-year-old who's about the same age as when things start happening to you.
Yeah, she's never experienced anything.
Do you have any fear that whatever has went after you, whatever has been following you?
I do with my little one, because she keeps getting up with screaming, telling me she has these dreams, and I kind of feel like, oh, please, not her. But my 17-year-old, no. I worry about my little one.
Now, have you shared the story with either one of your daughters?
I've shared it with all my kids. Yeah, I have a 23-year-old too. They laugh.
Now, do you think it's possible that with your youngest, she hears the story and then she associates?
Well, yeah, she's young.
With...
Well, there's been quite a few things in my home that's been happening with her that it's unexplainable. And
anything you care to share?
Yeah, I guess I can. I've had toys go off at the middle of the night. I've had her talking to somebody in the mirror, where I actually had to call my child's godmother to come and bless our home, because we weren't sure what was going on. So things were happening. Toys were going off.
When you say she was talking to someone, I mean, the toy's going off.
That's no. My son,
I'm a little bit of a skeptic.
No. Well, this is what happened. My daughter was actually having a conversation with somebody in the mirror. Like,
do you remember any part of the conversation?
Geez, it's been so long that my son was like, I had to call him because she told me she was talking to some little girl in the room, and he got so scared, and he didn't believe me until I said, come here. She said the little girl was in the mirror.
How old was she when this happened?
This happened when she was like about 4, and my son went to the room and saw her actually talking to this one person in the mirror. He grabbed her, picked her up, and said, we need to call somebody that can help us, because he freaked out so bad, because she was actually having a conversation with this one person on the other side of the mirror. And I hate to believe these kind of things, because I'm like, no, this is not really happening. But she was having a conversation. My son grabbed her, because he's like, if she is talking to somebody, that's scary. And he was with me. My son experienced this with me. I'm not crazy. That same week, it was Christmas time. I set up a train track. Must have been like 3:00 in the morning. I have a video to even prove it, where the train track just turned on by itself and started just riding. Like, all kinds of things were happening in our house, like crazy. Toys were going off. He was by himself shaving. And
this is your son or your husband?
My son.
Okay.
And he came home from school, and the toy says, do you want to play with me? Nobody's in the house. He flipped out, says, call my godmother, because things were happening. It was just one. And so I had to get rid of all the toys that I had bought at a thrift store, because he was just flipping out. And I don't want to believe in stuff like this, because I'm the kind of person that's like, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. But I've seen it.
So that was when she was 4.
Yeah.
And she's 6 now.
Yeah.
And you said that somebody came to the house and blessed the house?
Yeah. I had a really good friend that she knows about blessing, and she came and blessed our home, and little things happened, but it wasn't as bad as it just kind of stopped.
Now, when you say it just kind of stops,
I can't say.
Are you talking in context to the toys turning on? What was the talking in the mirror a one-time thing, or was it as far as you know, was it a one-time thing, or was it a reoccurring?
Well, it happened for a while. Yeah, he didn't.
So she would talk to people. She would. Your daughter would talk to this little girl in the mirror.
Yeah, we went to every part. He went to every mirror in my home, and says, "Is this person in this mirror?" No. the person here, she says it's in mommy's room.
And so it wasn't just a one-time thing. She
No,
this
he
a
took her
couple
to,
times.
yeah, it happened a few times. We were flipping out. I was scared. And until this day, I still feel like I don't like being alone. But like I said, I'm strong enough. I just feel like she does a lot of talking by herself. She does it still.
Did you have a conversation with her and ask her, hey, what were you talking about? Approach it
Yeah, I
like,
try, but
did she deny it?
I feel like she invents her stories now. Like it's,
So I find that interesting. So I'm looking at the dynamic of when you were younger, you had some stuff happen with you,
yeah.
and you told your parents.
But
And
the
your
talking
parent,
in her sleep is what freaks me out.
but your mom didn't believe you as much.
No, never.
Your daughter has some things going on.
Yeah.
She had some things going on.
But see,
she's telling you, but from your perspective, now a mother's perspective, you're saying you're almost approaching it like, yeah, she just kind of makes things up.
I do pay attention.
So is she making it? Do you feel like she's making it up, or do you feel like she was actually talking to a spirit in the mirror?
If it sounds real, yeah, I take things very real. Like if she's telling me a story and if she's seen a movie and she's kind of, I feel like she's in it, because at 6 years old
you see Chucky,
you see
and then
something,
you go see the doll
yeah.
move. Yeah.
But if I feel that she's saying, hey, somebody was talking to me and I saw that person, I'm like, where did you see it? So I question, because she's done that to me a few times, and Anthony and me, we both feel that she might see something. I don't know. There's something about my house that doesn't seem right sometimes.
So now, sticking with the mirror thing for right now.
Yeah.
So you questioned your daughter about what she was doing, who she was talking to, what she was talking to them about in the mirror.
Yeah.
And what did she tell you?
That she was talking to some little girl.
About?
Oh my goodness. It's been so long.
Well, and the reason I'm kind of wondering is...
No, I know. It's just been so long.
If it's, bad, if from what you heard from the conversation, if it's a bad spirit, if it's a good spirit.
Well, I do remember her saying something that the little girl didn't like her.
The little girl didn't like...
didn't like Isabella. Yeah, that's when Anthony got upset and he took her out of the room because...
Anthony's your son.
Anthony's my son, yeah. The little girl, she was having like a little argument or something when she was talking to her in the mirror.
Now,
yeah.
Does it worry you, or did you think about maybe that was the same female voice or entity that you dealt with when you were 16?
No, this was totally different. It had nothing to do.
I mean, it was a different... You didn't have...
No, I just feel like whatever was happening with my daughter, that was like totally different, because I wasn't even having any type... This was something different.
Well, I mean, as far as it being a female spirit, that's a similarity. Maybe the female spirit that...
No, this female that I was talking to was like an older person. Woman. Whoever my daughter was talking to, it was a child, because I remember her saying it was a little girl.
Gotcha. So it was age appropriate. Yeah. And so the mirror thing happened on several... Yeah,
it happened several times. She kept talking about it.
And she
talked about it like too long.
Each time would you question,
I questioned her every time. I didn't leave her alone in the room anymore. And the day I did leave her alone, my son happened to just come home from school, and I was like, Anthony, you need to see this.
And was that the day that you grabbed her?
Yeah, he took her out because he just said, he's like, fuck this.
Now, you talked about her. What really kind of freaked you out was
he made me get
in her sleep.
Yeah, she still does that. She's done it recently, and now her dad's trying to blame me for scary movies, but she's not scared. She's not scared of scary movies.
The talking in her sleep, what is it about it that you find bothersome? Because I've talked in my sleep. My wife, she says all kinds of crazy shit in her sleep. What is it specifically about her talking in her sleep that bothers you?
That's well, she
always, like she's having a conversation.
It just seems like she's always wanting help. Like she's always screaming for help.
So it could be more of a nightmare situation.
It could be, but she always comes out of it the way I felt like I came out of mine, screaming for help and not remembering what happened.
Does that give you pause? Earlier we talked about how...
I just hope she's not feeling what I felt.
Have you had that?
She's too young. She's too
That's kind of what I was trying to get about.
I can't help her when it comes to that.
I
but see, what scares me is that her dad... I'm not scared of scary movies, okay? I'm not scared. I'm scared of certain scary movies. I mean, But her father puts this fear in her head that if you watch scary movies, oh my God, it's so bad for you. And I'm like, you need to stop that because I don't want to scare her from watching scary movies. You understand?
Yeah, no, I get that.
So if she, this is what makes me feel like, oh my goodness, I don't want her to be scared of watching scary movies. She's not scared. She's good. She could sit there and watch a scary movie and be okay, but her father will come and put that in her head like it's not okay.
So, like with both my daughters, I'm a huge, obviously, horror
Yeah.
Deathlocker podcast.
Yes.
Both of my daughters at a very young age, I got them to horror movies.
Well, that's probably a good thing because I think if you teach your kids at a young age that it's nothing to be scared about, then they're going to grow up and know that really there's nothing to be scared about. But if you put that in their head that this shit might be true, then they grow up thinking that half of this stuff, because I grew up that way, but then I grew out of it knowing, I mean, God, I went to watch Chainsaw Massacre and ran out at 13 years old thinking that it was real because nobody ever taught me that it wasn't. And I don't want to raise my daughter to be scared of things and be scared of everything. No, I want them to be brave and strong because I'm weak. There's a part of me that's still scared because I cannot sleep with the lights off. I hate to be in the dark. It just so much fear. I fear the dark for some reason. I just hate to be in the dark. But I feel like I could stand up. There's been times because I live in Georgia, lights go out and I'm in the dark by myself. I run to the light. I even go outside. It doesn't matter wherever I have light. I just hate to be in the dark. I fear the dark.
So, what measures have you taken in your household to kind of try to prevent your kids from growing up with some of the same?
Well, I'm
Inherent
afraid that
fears.
they see that I'm that way and they might kind of be the way they might grow up and have that from me. Yeah, you could blame me for that one, but I don't want my kids to be scared of scary movies. My daughter, that's 17, she was scared for so freaking long because her father put that shit in her head that, oh God, no, come on. So much of this shit is so fake that I learned that it's all fake. I was so scared at 13. Come on. 10 years old, I thought everything was, oh my God, I thought it was so real.
So, how did they get over it? I mean, have you?
I got over it because I just finally got over it once I got older. And it took me forever. And that was my weak spot. And now I could watch scary movies and I enjoy it. Now, I don't want my little girl that's 6 years old to have that fear of scary movies. So she has her godparents that they love scary movies and they're teaching her about scary movies and I enjoy that. And her father still puts the crap in her head that you don't need to be watching that shit. And I'm like, you need to shut the fuck up because you know what? You need to stop. Like, seriously. Because there's nothing to be scared of. I mean, now spiritually, things do happen, and you need to fear other things, not scary movies. That's all bullshit. I don't believe in that. I feel like, God, I wish I would have known that since I was little because I was such a chicken.
To kind of backtrack a little bit, you talked about your friend who came and blessed the house. Can you go a little bit in detail about how that whole process went?
Well, she came down, she blessed the house with love, and I guess the spirits couldn't take it. They just kind of went away.
Cece, in your experience, have you ever had to bless a house or known anybody who's had to bless
She
a house?
brought
How does that go?
I think it was, oh gosh, I can't remember.
Yes, and I have been at some house blessings, and I have blessed some houses myself. Normally, what we do is take sage and sage the house, and you go through the whole house. I mean, from top to bottom, window to window, closets, all around. You open up some windows and let the spirits go out, and you just kind of say a little prayer, like only let love in and all negativity leave this house.
Is it more of a generic prayer, or is it a prayer that can be curtailed to whatever religious?
It can go whatever faith that the person believes in, or whatever it is that you feel like you're trying to cleanse the house of. Like I cleanse my house of negativity. So it just kind of depends on, what you're trying to cleanse.
Tina, you talked about the blessing. Your friend came in and did the blessing, and it worked for a while, but things still happen. But do you feel overall that the blessing was beneficial?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just gave a little bit of peace to our home, and I'm not going to say that it stopped because little things still happens to me. It doesn't happen as often. Gosh, I don't even want to say maybe once a year. It just happens. It just comes about. How
So
can I say?
have you kind of so this thing happened? Whatever the entity attacked you when you were 17 has followed you throughout your life.
Yeah,
Potentially, the spirits, has had contact with at least one of your daughters,
I don't want to think so. So let's not even go there.
but it appears, based off of your story, that there's something going on.
I'm
Whether it's
just
a different,
hoping.
whether
Yeah,
it's a coincidence that it's a different set of spirits, or it's one set of spirits because you're still having phenomena yourself,
yeah,
but you have control over it, so you can
I
stop
do.
it. But
Yeah,
then separately, your daughter's also having something. So whether it's one set of spirits that are working together, that sounds weird, or
yeah.
whether it's two individual sets of
Well,
spirits.
I'm hoping it's nothing like what I went
Oh
through.
yeah,
I hope it's just little nightmares that she's happy. That's happening to her, but it's been happening kind of constantly. Like it's happening a lot now.
is because it's something you've lived with for so long. Is it something you've just kind of almost given into that this is now part of your life? Or have you looked into, are you planning on looking into, different measures, whether it's another blessing, whether it's, actually looking into, I don't want to say exorcist because that's, everyone says TV exorcist,
No,
but
a lot of
whether
people
that's having a,
mention that to me, but it's kind of like it could do whatever it wants. I've learned to deal with it. I guess you can say it's kind of part of my life. Not that I want it there. I wish it could just disappear, but I'm not afraid of it anymore to the point where, bring it on, bitch, because I'm
okay.
gonna fight you.
So you're feeling more empowered than complacent.
Oh yeah, I just enjoy fighting it now.
All right.
Well, not that I enjoy it so much because it'll be like, what? But now I just feel like, oh,
you've come to terms with it.
huh, yeah,
It's been with you. I
yeah,
don't want to put your age out there on the
I
interweb,
don't care.
but it's something you've
Mm,
lived with for 20, almost 30 plus years,
40.
40
It's
plus
been,
years. So I mean, it's a part of who you are. It's a part of Tina Lisa.
oh, I think when I die, I'm going to start hunting whatever's been hunting me all these years.
Your daughter's going to be talking to you in the mirror.
And if anybody has this kind of experience, please talk to me. Please contact me through here. Talk to Shane. I would love to talk to you because I want to know that I am not the only one having to go through this. And if it's anything similar to like what I'm going through, it would be so awesome to just have a conversation. And maybe I could just give you some comfort or we could just talk about what we've been through because there's many more stories. Not a lot of time, but it would be nice to talk to somebody that kind of felt like I do today.
I think that's kind of a good place to stop. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I think so.
Well, Tina, Cece, I just want to thank you guys for coming by.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cece.
Thank you for having
It's
us.
actually been really awesome to have a conversation on this podcast that doesn't involve penises. It seems to be our
Well,
running
there was, but there were just like ghost penises. No
almost
more.
almost had a
No more.
conversation that
No
didn't
more.
involve
That's it.
penises. But one of the things that we like to do with our guests is ask you a final going away question. Cece, if you could be an extra on any horror movie, what movie and why?
I think I would have to say Gremlins because I think that Gizmo is really cute, and I think it would be neat to see all the animation of the little people and how they move and the you know computer how they make the gremlins. I just think it would be a really cool experience.
And Tina, you'd be an extra in any movie, any horror movie. What movie and why?
An extra? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. E.T., is that a...
E.T.'s not a horror movie.
Oh gosh. Okay.
He does have a long finger. A very long phallic-like finger.
Oh Lord. Let's see. I guess growing up, Halloween, I would be an extra in Halloween, I guess.
And why?
And why? I just want to be the girl that gets away. Shit.
Want to be the girl who gets away.
I want to be, yeah. I just always, that was one of my favorite scary movies when I was younger. The only one I could tolerate, shit. I ran out of everything else.
Since we just speak in Halloween, one more little fist. What do you think about the new Halloween movie that's going to be coming out?
Is there a new one?
There is.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, the original. What
What?
cone of silence have you been living in?
Oh my goodness. I swear I'm under a shell.
So there's the original Halloween.
Right.
And then there's Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So what they're doing is Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back.
What?
And they're going to make a direct sequel to the original Halloween, which is going to be Jamie Lee Curtis, now a grandmother.
Oh, wow.
And Michael Myers escapes from the loony bin again.
Oh my gosh.
And he's going to go after Jamie Lee Curtis.
We should watch that together.
Okay, so that's it, guys.
That's it. Goodbye, good night, and sweet dreams.
And remember, if your flashlight blinks once, you've definitely got a fucking ghost. Do-do-do-do-do-do. 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 Who you gonna call? Deathlocker!